again on this fine Sunday, the last day of August. It's the 28th anniversary today of Diana's death. And I think she started some years ago on the lines of, people should have free speech. And from my point of view, and then I'll let you carry on, I've not got a lot to say on it because, there isn't much to say, Tim, because you're not allowed to. So the AI overview of this is the UK does have freedom of speech protected by laws, which, they won't let you follow. Article 10, of course, of the Human Rights Act 98. However, it can be restricted, and it often is at the moment, under specific circumstances. So, if you go to an illegal immigrant that's got no papers, they've just raped somebody at the next street, and so you can't say to him, go back, to where you come from, you've got no papers, UK don't want you. That's a hate crime, even if you say it in a nice, polite way or hold the banner up, and you can't say to doctors, that, they're giving you this injection and you're telling the world about it. Oh, that's harassment and so on, and incitement to violence. There's a lot of things like that you can't say anymore. And even if you are being careful, they'll put you under one of them categories of harassment, hate crime, etc. It says on Wikipedia, there's no general right to the freedom of speech in the UK, but it did say since 98, limited freedom of expression is guaranteed according to the Article 10 of Human Rights. But a lot of people, the critic.co.uk, very right in saying the UK is no longer an open country for free expression. Britain is now a world leader in censorship. Just a little bit more. And I want to draw people's attention to the rally on the 13th of September. It's in London. It's all over the central bit near Trafalgar Square, going down past Parliament, that big walk from the gates right at the top. I've forgotten what it's called now. It's a special day because on September the 13th, the British victory won at the Battle of Quebec in 1759 in Canada, and the capture of Mexico City by US forces in 1847. There's other key things about September the 13th. Hadrian's Wall, I believe, was built or finished that day. And it's National Chocolate Day, by the way. So, why can't we, Tim, have a bit more freedom of speech? And why, we'll talk about him later, but, there's Michael Yeadon, there's that chap, Andy, that we interviewed, on vaccine damages, and they just seem to turn you into... The old version was a conspiracy theorist. Now, actually, you're classed in the UK as far right, and it's the lefties that are ruining all the far right peaceful protests. Anyway, over to you, boy. You're the historian.
Yeah, no, it's an appalling situation. This censorship problem has been around. It's nothing new in England. It's happened before with, in Shakespeare's time, the Puritan movement got strong in the 17th century, and Oliver Cromwell came to power, the English Revolution, as you remember, and at that point in time, censorship was extremely strong, and not least the Shakespeare plays became censored. Theater in general was out of favor because of the Puritans being the dominant religious voice at the time, the dominant religious power So, I mean, we thought of England under Queen Elizabeth as being an Anglican country with with this monarch as the head of the Church of England. And we know that that's because of the scandals associated with her father, King Henry VIII, who was excommunicated by Rome, basically because he wanted to divorce Catherine of Aragon, the Spanish princess whom he had married, and he wished to marry Anne Boleyn. And because of the opposition by the Archbishop of Canterbury, he was not able to proceed without basically changing the religious orientation of the country from Catholic to Anglican. He created the Anglican Church and made himself the head of the Anglican Church. So censorship was a problem even under Queen Elizabeth, because anything that was critical of her or anything she deemed to be politically incorrect at the time got censored, and sometimes people got arrested. There were playwrights writing at the time that were arrested and faced charges of treason for what they had written. So back to now, it's back again. This
So can I
censorship.
just interrupt you there? I was
Yeah.
cheating a little bit, and there's a Shakespeare quote.
Yeah.
Sometimes roughly, sometimes I must hold this my tongue.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, the Shakespeare plays were at one level or another written in code precisely because of this danger of facing court censorship for anything that was too critical of the court officials, the court of England in general, So Hamlet's set in Denmark, but to anyone who's a perceptive reader, they can realize that it's not something rotten in Denmark, but something rotten in England that's really at issue. And so the play is a disguised critique of the English court. So back to now, we're facing censorship again. During World War II, there were censorship laws in place. There was a kind of gag order on anything that related to the government or questions pertaining to the war policy, the foreign office policy, anything that questioned the regime under Churchill was censored, and you could go to jail, and many people were jailed at the time for speaking on matters that were not to be spoken of. And so, under the pretext of any kind of national emergency, this is what they do. They invoke laws that restrict freedom of speech, as they did when the COVID pandemic was happening. But that series of censorship measures that were brought in during the pandemic has basically given the government the mandate. They feel they can invoke censorship anytime they please now. And so in India, when Gandhi was in power, the Congress Party of India had adopted a policy of appeasement towards Muslims, and Gandhi would even go on hunger strikes in defense of the Muslim community whenever there was a conflict between Hindus and Muslims. And it was very much frowned upon for anyone Hindu to say anything disparaging about Muslims. Now, as far as Gandhi's assassination is concerned, Godse, Notaram Godse, the assassin, conducted his own defense in court, in which he explained why he felt he had no recourse but to resort to this violent act concerning Gandhi, because, according to his own testimony, he had found that Gandhi was a traitor to India and was adopting policies that were deeply harmful to the Hindu population of India. And his policy of appeasement was extremely damaging. It left the Hindu population helpless in the face of the terrorist violence in West Bengal being orchestrated by the Muslim League. And so basically, Notar Godse's testimony was published in the form of a book by his brother Gopal Godse called May It Please Your Honor. But that book was banned, subject to censorship for decades in India, and only came to light recently, mainly because of my efforts to share it and to get the word out. So with those policies of appeasement that were adopted by Gandhi and the Congress Party of India, we have a very, very similar policy of appeasement being adopted by the UK government towards Muslims today in the UK. It's exactly the same situation that was in India under Gandhi. And I see the similar laws being enacted in Canada, saying anything critical about Muslims or the Muslim religion is being punished as a hate crime. And probably this is happening in other Western countries, not just UK and Canada.
Yeah, what's really annoying though is they started to censor online stuff now. I mean, it's good if it was used in a good way, like to stop pedophiles from going after the children and all that. And people are trying to scam you. I mean, that's not a bad sort of censorship, but they're now starting, to monitor websites to say what you can and can't say. I mean, when will it stop?
Yeah, I know, it's very, very troubling.
I mean, what I still get a kick out of, and it's probably not that funny, it's just my warped sense of humour. I get a kick when they call them auditors over here. What they do is they get a camera, they take pictures of, say, the police doing their job, or the fire, the ambulance, the nurses, whatever, factories, from airports, anything. And because of our laws say you can film in public, I really, laugh day and night when I hear the authoritative people saying you can't film here but you can in a public place. So at least if you can't do it online, you can certainly do it in public still. It's quite funny for me anyway.
Yeah, no, I find
Yeah, I was going to say one of the big question is, why are we being censored? I mean, I guess one of the answers technically is they don't want you to put the truth out there and scare others, but it must be a deeper plan than just simple stuff like that.
well, I mean, the number of controls that they're trying to implement has taken away all of our freedoms, and it started with the COVID pandemic. I mean, it was a farce. I mean, COVID was an exaggerated false flag type of emergency that invoked all these powers of restricting our freedom of movement. One of the democratic rights that we have is the freedom of assembly, where you can, gather in public to maybe protest or whatever. That freedom was restricted ostensibly because the virus could be spread if people were to congregate and assemble in public. So one of our major freedoms, the freedom of assembly, was taken away. Of course, they censored the news as well, and a lot of social media would deplatform people based on their message, which was deemed to be disinformation regarding COVID, regarding the vaccines, or what have you. And, I recently shared a couple of clever speeches made by Rowan Atkinson, in which he spoke ironically on these subjects. And, he's so clever and so witty. And he drew attention to this problem of censorship. And the basic import of his message was that the best thing for a healthy society is to hold open debates on these subjects, however contentious. And if someone's in the wrong, they can be publicly called out and shamed for it should they be found at fault, but at least give the person a chance to air their views. And if their views carry some weight, then maybe they can persuade other people that maybe they have a point. But if they're out of line, clearly maintaining an offensive point of view, they're not going to have a sympathetic audience, are they? And so they're going to be exposed publicly for having a very unpopular viewpoint. And so everyone gets to hear the message and, in a sense, censor the message just simply by finding fault with it en masse. And at least there's a public hearing and a debate over what opinion is being held, instead of suppressing the opinion and the person so no one ever gets to hear it, which is never healthy, because it's possible that maybe they do have something important to share, but the public is not allowed to hear it, which is a very dangerous situation, a very dangerous precedent to set. And unfortunately, the COVID pandemic or plandemic has set that dangerous precedent. And now the governments of the Western world are just taking full advantage of the fact that they took an inch and now they're going to take 100 yards. So yeah, all these topics are connected, so that we can go from one topic to the next and see how they all connect.
Yeah, I don't believe for one second that Mike Yeadon and Andy, I do. I forgot his name now. Andy, that we had on the show once.
Yeah,
Whistleblowers like that about vaccine damages and the COVID-19 was Mike in particular. I don't believe they spent all their life as doctors to then suddenly become a conspiracy theorist. That's what they're labeled as, but it's not. They must have some
no,
research.
they're
They must have some
insiders.
knowledge.
They're insiders. They have inside knowledge, and they're
Yeah.
whistleblowing. And Michael Yeadon is a whistleblower. I mean, he was the vice president of Pfizer, and he knows exactly what the company is doing in terms of research and development. And he found problems with the mRNA vaccine. He found problems with the PCR tests, which he found to be deeply flawed. He now goes so far as to say it's fraud. It's just a complete fraudulent test that produces positive test results when it's clearly not valid. Basically, the common germ would set off the PCR test as positive. Um, you know, so yeah, he's been quite outspoken, and it's because of his scientific expertise in the subject area in question. He knows very well what the science is on the subject, and so he's a whistleblower, not a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I mean, he was a researcher of immunology and respiratory diseases. I mean, that just tells you he's definitely an expert in his field. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's definitely is that whistleblower.
Oh, and the other
I,
fellow that you were thinking about is Andrew Wakefield, and he
yeah.
he had found there was some connection between autism and vaccination, and he's been quite outspoken about that over the years, and he's not the only one. Um, Robert Kennedy Jr. has been quite outspoken about the damaging side effects of vaccination.
I mean, there's probably now. I mean, I always say it's fact. I mean, to be fair, I've not researched whether it is fact or not, but I'm watching so many videos and people commenting. I've come to the assumption there's more deaths now from people who had the vaccines than the people who just died of the COVID. Well, I
Right.
don't know if that is fact, is it, Tim? Or am I just wishful thinking?
Statistically, it's shown to be so, and I would definitely uh, support those findings, just simply knowing what effect the vaccine actually has physiologically upon people who take it.
Oh,
It
there we
causes
go. I've
it
got
causes
our,
autoimmune
there's a good
disease.
website called ourwelldata.org. And if anybody wants to put COVID-19 facts in there, it actually gives you all the figures.
Very good. Yeah, it's very concerning for sure, Andy. All of it.
Yeah, you need to be a mathematician, though, to understand it. It's from December the... I might even just put that up on the screen so people can... Oops, not that one. People can probably try having a look. It's a very... Yeah, it's not very big. I can't make it any bigger either. It doesn't have any weight up with it. Oh, it might do. Well, it gives you everything, that one does. It's brilliant. Total vaccine doses administered per 100 people versus daily new COVID-19 deaths per million people. It looks scary. It looks like the Western world had more problems than the Eastern world. But I'm not allowed to say that. That's racist.
Yeah, it's bad. Very, very bad, Andy.
Yeah, we think we're getting, the gunpowder plot situation over in the UK at the moment with this September the 13th rally. It's not just the fact, they're not marching peacefully. I mean, last rally, the guy, his name is Tom. Well, the idea is Tommy Robinson. His real name's Stephen Yaxley Lennon. But he calls himself Tommy Robinson because we're basically all Tommy Robinson. We all want peace and quiet, able to speak, publish our books, go to work, live next door to a Muslim brother if he's, been here a few years, got the right paperwork, but we don't want these Islamist extremists here, coming in on the little boats. I mean, we're talking hundreds a day. I don't know the actual number, but it's hundreds every day, Tim. And most of them go on to rape. And this is leading on to something else. And that's what I was looking for, and actually I haven't found it. So this march isn't just about that. It's about, when there was problems last year with one of the immigrants, he murdered 3 school kids. Now, this is part of what I was going to say in a minute, but I just remembered it had a link to last year in July, when a lot of people went to these protests, and because they turned up at these protests, or because they put a little comment on X or Facebook saying, encouraging it maybe in a small way, but not actually saying they're encouraging it. They've been locked up, for months, and some of them have only just got out of jail recently, and it's not right. I mean, it's not just about all that. It's about, your taxes rising. They're doing an Oliver Cromwell, or they're doing a gunpowder plot. So on the 13th, he normally gets a couple of 100,000 at a rally, bigger than I ever dreamed of when I was doing things. I could shut down motorways, but I couldn't bring people like that. So 200,000, he's expecting close to 1 million this time on September the 13th. He's got world speakers from all over, Canada, America, other countries that matter, Australia. And, people will go there. What we're worried about now, and of course it's not official, but if you link last July when it turns out he wasn't an immigrant in the end. I mean, that's what the riots were all over. He actually had the right to stay. There's a young guy that was, he's in jail now for life anyway. He murdered 3 people. A lot of people, innocent people, went to jail. What they're saying is, and we're linking that to last week's American killings of children in school, or at least attack. I haven't read that story properly. There's some people are going around saying now, I'll say it last. On top of that, our government is ordering portable mortuaries from Poland to the UK as an urgent resource. You look at our security risk, it's not gone up, but the people's is similar to security. It's people's preparedness, awareness levels gone up, basically indicating there's going to be a mass event coming. I can't remember. Yeah, I should have wrote that down. So what they're expecting, there's going to be mass shootings, I think, at schools, killing kids. Because if you can't get back at the adults, who better to try and murder is the kids? Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm only going on the information on the internet, based on what happened recently in America, what happened last year in the UK, and, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Well, there's been recent findings that suggest that the antidepressant medication that was being taken by the perpetrator in these shootings might have been a factor, specifically SSRIs, which stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Examples of SSRIs would be fluoxetine, otherwise known as Prozac, sertraline, which is known as Zoloft, and citalopram, which is Celexa. And so serotonin, norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, SNRIs, are also considered a factor, such as venlafaxine under the brand name Effexor, and duloxetine under the brand name Cymbalta, and atypical antidepressants like bupropion under the brand name Wellbriton, and mirtazapine under the brand name Remeron. So yeah, I mean, just
Well, I can,
mm-hmm.
again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I can 100% give loads of examples of a few of them, or three of them, that's been used in recent times to people I know and care for very well, and they've had negative side effects on them.
Yeah.
A tablet that's supposed to mainly do antidepressant, and probably a little bit of personality behavior problems, trying to deal with that, has actually made them really, really bad. And of course, if these crazy people took them not these crazy people, these people who did these shootings and commit crime at a higher level, wow, like a ticking time bomb. But the trouble is, we can't say that it is them drugs, and they can't even say that as a defense, surely, because the state doesn't recognize that they're ever wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think that this has been claimed for many years. This is not news as such. Some of those shootings that have taken place in the past in the United States, like the Columbine High School massacre, it was suggested back then that these psychotropic drugs that the suspects had taken may have been a factor in having an adverse effect on their psychological health, and may have prompted this act of violence. So yeah, it's not new. It's been suggested in the past, and it's being suggested again, and I think we need to look at that and take it seriously.
Well, a recent study, I don't know if you saw the same thing, from the National Institutes of Health,
Yeah.
basically said in a recent study, 2.7% of people on the SSRIs went to commit violent crimes.
Right.
So we're not making this stuff up. It is there, and I mean, I always say to people, if you need them kind of drugs, basically try and avoid everyone Tim's mentioned, because I mean, there's some out there that people say, well, they're okay for me, but they're not okay for him. Well, that's just personal choice. I mean, I guess I'm not saying that people who need drugs like that shouldn't take them, because it's one of them. In it, if it works, I think you should stay taking them, and if it don't work, you should try something else or try another way. Obviously, a non-medicated way is always better than a medicated way, but there's some people that are stuck on them for life.
Right.
My
Right.
good
Right.
lady, my good
Yeah.
lady's one of them, and she went through a lot, Tim, changing her drugs until the ones she's got now, and
Hmm.
they're the ones that have stopped being a little bit
Is that right?
crazy at times, I should say.
Hmm.
But none of
Yeah.
them, of course, none of them.
Well, I know that turmeric, which I swear by because I find it to be extremely healthy as a substance. I've taken it for an array of different things, and I find it to be effective. But it's supposed to be several times more effective than Prozac at relieving depression. And that's just one of its benefits. It's a blood thinner, and you have to be careful if you are already on a blood thinning medication, taking it. But if you're, not on blood thinning medication, it can act as a blood thinner. It's certainly very cleansing. It would remove plaque from your veins and arteries, and it is known to remove plaque from the brain, a buildup of plaque that contains heavy metals and other harmful chemicals from your brain. And
So
so that,
straight away, that would help with dementia. That would help
that's right.
with not
Yes.
needing cholesterol tablets, not needing high blood pressure pills, and it's good for joint pain as well. Because
Yes.
you're the one who told me about that.
Yes. It's good for all of these ailments. And yeah, it will improve your blood circulation. So if you have blood clot problems or poor circulation in your lower legs, it will help to alleviate that. And I do have blood circulation problems in my lower legs, and I have to wear compression socks to help with my blood flow, so that there's no backflow, with the blood trying to go back up the legs to my heart.
Can I make you laugh?
Yeah.
We all have feet problems,
Yeah.
and I've not just took them off. They're just ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Poor Andy's got foot problems, and I had to foot infection problems, because of well, my stay in the Philippines. My wife's family lives in a ghetto, and there was a problem with the shower facility because we had to shower in the same washroom where, you know, people uh, use the toilet, and they use a uh, method of cleaning their backside that involves pouring water on their backside. And of course, most Westerners rely on toilet paper, and you know, that's the way they do their toiletry business. And it causes E. coli bacteria to build up in the shower water, in the washroom. So I was showering, and the E. coli bacteria entered through some kind of ulcer hole in my foot. I guess I had a callus, and underneath the callus, it entered into the foot, and I developed a foot abscess infection. And I'm very, very lucky that I didn't have an amputation. If I had delayed and not gone to the hospital when I did, I may not have the mobility that I have today.
I think we copied each other on that one because I had exactly the same problem, but mine was because of animal, you tread in animal stuff
Oh
because you
dear.
don't see it outside, and you forget to put your shoes on, and then
Oh
it
dear.
gets inside you, you're cracking your foot. And yeah, so my treatment was
Yeah.
what they had to do, they had to do something through my neck to get
Oh,
to my heart, and then they give me 3 months of pumping antibiotics every single day, twice a day for 3 months. But I was, I could have lost my
so
feet, and even now,
they put a pick line through your
quick
neck
line,
to your
yeah.
aorta, and the antibiotics were being pumped directly into your heart, and from there to the site of the uh, infection. Yeah.
That's why even now I have to go to podiatry every single week just to have my skin cut. They call it debriding. They cut the skin, trim the nails, because if I get another infection, I probably will lose my legs. So I'm kind of very similar, but I'm not diabetic. So they don't know why. I get it.
Well,
Oh, talking
yeah,
about turmeric while we're on this subject,
yeah.
I mean, some people would just go the easy way out, which I did for a while, and I stopped taking them. But I want to know ways of eating turmeric without swallowing a capsule. 'Cause I want to enjoy it, rather than. Can
I
you
just have
buy turmeric pepper?
I just buy turmeric in the grocery store, the turmeric powder, and sprinkle it in my tea. And I don't even have to have anything with it. I can just have turmeric tea.
Oh,
But
right.
but my doctor told me that he had read that cinnamon powder and turmeric together in a brew is a good thing to drink because it nullifies the symptoms of diabetes. It can reverse type 2 diabetes. So I've been taking that quite often. I'm now mixing ginger in with the other two. It
I
gives
was just going to say my doctor said turmeric and ginger for me,
is
but I
that
guess
right?
you could take them all three of them.
Why not? Yeah, I mean, they're all healthy and they all have good effects on the body, so why not take them all?
It'd be nice if you could just put them in like a powder, not a powder, like one of these pepper pots. We have pepper and salt over here, don't we? And you get your Himalayan crushed salt in one of them shakies. It's a pity you couldn't get the ginger, the turmeric, and all that in one little pepper ones. You can, instead of just doing pepper, spray that over your food.
Yeah, I think it's best in a liquid, hot, served hot like a soup or a tea, because
Okay, yeah, we'll do a
it's
lot of soup.
easier for the body to absorb in that way. Turmeric is hard for the body to digest and absorb, and they recommend that it be mixed with black pepper to help with uptake or absorption. But
Oh, I'm an obsessive on black pepper.
is that
I'm
so?
pepper obsessed. I don't just, pardon me. There's just something about pepper I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's nice taste for sure.
Yeah, we're going to get a revolution very soon, I think, because all these million people at this protest, and the political parties are now gone bonkers with their, denying free speech, jailing people. If we don't have a people's revolution, we'll have a political one because they all want our current prime minister to go. I mean, yeah. So yeah, I think we've had enough of what we call the lefties.
Yeah.
That's a shame, but well, that was very interesting today, Tim.
Mhm. Do you remember the Fabian Society? Does that ring a bell to you? Fabian Society?
Well, they either sound like I'll give you two examples. They either sound like the Mormons, that kind of idea, or they sound like the we always talk about it every week. Uh, now I can't. My brain don't want to function today.
Okay. Anyway, the Fabian Society is a far left organization.
Freemasons, that's it. I was thinking they're either like Freemasons or like the Mormons or the Jehovah's, or they're like the Freemasons of a way,
Yeah, I mean, probably they were founded by Freemasonry back in the day, but the Fabian Society is a leftist organization, and they determined that it was better to have a politics of gradualism to move the world towards a worldwide um, embrace of communism rather than to follow the Marxist model of violent revolution of the proletariat, uh, and having a worldwide workers' revolution. They found it would be better to have a politics of gradualism, and so the left parties, the parties on the left in our various Western governments, have been following this policy of gradualism, gradually moving the dial further and further to the left until it reaches the extreme far left. And so the Democratic Party, the Democrats in the United States have gradually moved to the far left. And under Biden and Harris, we saw the emergence of the far left. And so woke is a disguised form of communism. And I don't know why, you know, these students naively embrace Marxism when they're in university, because, history shows that wherever communism has been introduced anywhere in the world, it has brought nothing but oppression, tyranny, and bloodshed to the point of genocide. And that's true of Russia. It's true of North Korea. It's true of Cambodia, now changed, which is now changed its name to Kampuchea. Remember the Khmer Rouge? It's true of wherever communism has been introduced in the world. It's always brought death and destruction. And how people can naively still continue to promote it is beyond me. I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, obviously these students at university are being indoctrinated, not educated, and they somehow are persuaded to embrace Marxist ideology because their professors are promoting it in their lectures or what have you, and they get brainwashed. They effectively do. They must.
Yeah, some of the marches of free speech with the right wing, as we call them, as we're not really right wing, we're just right. They always send in the there's a big organization now called Socialist Worker. It's more of a magazine, but it's linked to some unions with these big corporations. And when you get a peaceful protest, the far left always march the other side of the road. I mean, we might be shouting about, save our children, save our this and save our that, and they'll be on the other side shouting, what's that word? Sort of God loves Hamas, that kind of rubbish. But they're actually, when you look at them, they're actually not foreign people, and that's what's scary. They're actually white British people saying that, but when you look in their eyes, it looks a bit like you did that article on the psychopath. They look like psychopaths. I mean, I'm not saying they are, but they don't have any feelings. They don't have any real look again. They're women, they're men, they're normal looking people apart from their eyes on these marches. It's really, really horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, can we draw this to a close and hopefully we'll get some more